For 6.51, we were told we were getting a new Criterion dungeon, and with it, new rewards to see how we as a community received them. So when Yoshi first said the rewards for Savage would be something to help improve your eye level, I was very confused because Savage Criterion expects you to have gone through the Savage tier for gear. It isn't base or on clearing and crafted gear, at least for the Savage version. As an example, crafted gear for this tier is 640, so Savage is 660 with the weapon being 665. The Criterion version of the dungeon is 640, so it's on par with the 3rd and 4th floors of Savage, and only the bosses have enrage timers, so you can wait for all of your raid buffs to come back between pulls. But Criterion Savage has a dungeon enrage, so it seemingly expects you to already be this. So if you can do this content, what do you need the higher eye level for anyway? Well, now that the patch is out, we can see what they did add, and it's shiny upgraded tome weapons that are 665 eye level. The weapons are really cool looking, though I'm not totally sold on each weapon having its own unique glow. Some of the glows do look really cool. I'm looking at you, Black Mage Lamp and Dork Knight Sword, but others are kind of lame, or at least not related to the weapon skin. And I can go over every weapon individually once I actually clear another Alolan if people want. The thing about having a unified effect is that when you show it off, people know where you got it from based on the glow. But sometimes the weapons don't mesh with the effect and they look awful. Like the DSR weapons, for example. Some of them look kinda neat, but most look so blah. But is this enough of a reward for Criterion though? The short answer, no. But stick around though, so I can explain why I don't think so, and what could make this all better. And I'm going to be making my thoughts with the assumption that this isn't the second Criterion we've got in this gear cycle, and not the end of an expansion. So like, I understand this is a side grade to the Raid Savage tier and all, I think, but you can't even get the Tome upgrade without going through the 3rd fight of a Raid Savage tier. So you gotta at least do some of the 8-man content to even get this reward. This sucks for people who might only know 3 other people interested in endgame raiding and just want to play with the homies. And don't want to PF for another 4 people for whatever reason, as niche of a subsection that is. One change or fix for general gearing, perhaps, is we can move the Tome upgrade to the last fight, and just make it the same eye level. Though that would mess with the gear progression a little, leaving only the chest to drop from the 3rd fight. But that still doesn't really fix an issue with gearing I have, or Criterion rewards, but we'll go over that later. Or maybe this is meant to replace Ultimate, since it seems like we're only getting a singular Ultimate next expansion, which sucks. But if it's as polished as DSR, I'll be at least less disappointed. And small tangent, but come on Yoshi, I'm begging here. Give us Ultimates based on Alliance raids. I want to do an Ultimate Nier or Evilise, please. But back on the main point, if this is still something meant to be done after clearing the 8-man raid tier. And man, I want to just keep saying Savage for both the raid and Criterion, but it's starting to confuse myself if I'm talking about the raid tier or Criterion, and I'm saying XD. Back on point again though, I'm not really sure what the point of the increased eye level is for. If it's the last thing you're doing in a patch cycle, you're already or mostly fully geared already. But this is a problem I have with gearing in general that I was talking about earlier. Without Ultimate or Criterion, what does getting a weapon from the last fight even matter? Excluding gearing up for the next expansions, which because the first like 60% of the expansion is lower eye level than the final tiers of this, and we'll have our relic weapons if you're not going to swap to one of the new jobs. And when a new tier comes out, the crafted gear just invalidates all of the previous raid gear. So this just ends up helping you clear content you don't even need the rewards to clear. But they can't really change that part of the formula, because if they raise the minimum item level for the last fight, people not statics are bound to get grieved, or run the risk of content being arbitrarily unclearable until week 2 or 3 for parties to get more loot under their belt. Though this would be more a PF problem than a static problem, admittedly. And being able to go in at minimum item level and clear out the entire raid tier week 1 is a massive boon in regards to respecting your time. But also, I think that Criterion Savage just functionally needs a bit of a redesign. Criterion and Criterion Savage are the exact same dungeons, with just the latter requiring a flawless run start to finish, like even more so than Ultimates. These 2 types of content are roughly the same length, give or take, and some of the most punishing content in the game, but somehow Ultimate is even more forgiving than Criterion. With Resurrection locked in Criterion Savage, anyone dying means a wipe, and even if you removed the enrage timer on the dungeon, a single upcoming body check means you wipe if you decide to press on with the death, even if that body check is with the next boss. At least in Ultimate, there are plenty of times during the fight where someone can die and quickly get res, and you can not only continue to prog, but even clear the current or next phase, if not the entire fight. And I don't really want them to remove Resurrection in Ultimates going forward. That'd be such a cheap way to increase difficulty in content where you have at least 2 people with the ability to combat res in standard comps. While Criterion Savage is kind of lazy
from a certain point of view,
I do like the idea that you can freely practice the later sections of the dungeon as much as you want in Criterion to get a clean run, which makes putting it all together a whole lot easier. Compared to Ultimate, where you have to do each phase every pull just to prog due to the lack of checkpoints. But on the other hand, it feels bad that you could theoretically just run normal while clearing within the Criterion Savage's enrage timer, with no one getting hit by anything and just not getting the reward. So maybe we just do that, scrap Savage as it is right now, to replace with something better, and just attach the Savage rewards to the end of the regular Criterion if you meet the requirements. No damage downs, no actions used, and done in under 20 minutes or whatever. If they can check for 8 Blue Mages, they can check for this too. Speaking of Blue Mage, why does Blue Mage even get a weapon from this? I like the idea of Blue Mage. It gives people a reason to go back into older content. But not only is Blue locked at 80 right now, even when it does get the ability to go up to 90, this job is locked from Variant for some reason. You also have to do the Masked Carnival to get the umbrella from the achievement. It's a little goofy. Another thing Criterion needs is to drop at least upgrade mats from the bosses. Right side from the first boss, and left side from the second, and a weapon upgrade for clearing, but on a weekly lock of course. Since these dungeons come out a patch later, there's like no reason that it can't drop gear. I get that Criterion Dungeon is one large dungeon and all, but even normal dungeons have gear drops after each boss. We can at least have that in maybe like a pity pot shirt, or 5 or 10 Captain Tomes for the trash. And also a Savage version of the portrait frames would be really nice. So what do we do to make the Savage mode better? Well, first I would allow for the normal Criterion to still allow use for the variant actions, so you could go in with weird comps still. I might be biased towards having things like lost actions in more content, but I think it'd be more fun. And still have brief tells for AoEs, a bit less noticed than the equivalent cast variant, but enough for small adjustments. Then when we get to the Savage version, we limit everyone to 1 use of res, but it doesn't refresh upon killing a boss, just upon wipe. Keep it as is with no checkpoints, but add the hidden boss as a secret final phase. While this will push the endurance aspect of the run to over 20 minutes, so something would have to change to shorten the overall length. Maybe shorten the initial 3 bosses, or go the ultimate route where we cut out the trash and just have a boss gauntlet, and we start off with the first boss of the variant so they can get some love. Quaqua is the coolest boss in the new Alolan dungeon, and my poor boy gets done so dirty. Like, he only has a couple mechanics, but because it's solely designed around any party size, they can't do a whole lot, and I'd love to see more. Well, Quaqua might be the second coolest. The Gun Pixie is so silly. I just adore her fight with how playful it feels. My complaints aren't because I dislike the content. I love running through normal Supplies. And I'm so glad for getting more 4-man content. But Deep Dungeon for me is too easy with the party and too punishing solo, so having Criterion be a slight step up in difficulty is so appreciated. And as for rewards, while for me the title has always been enough, I think that the personal achievement of doing something is reward enough. I do like being able to show off the achievement though. It's why I usually use my legend titles. However, getting like-minded individuals for super niche content while being a little antisocial can be a struggle. And because all you get to show off, at least for the first 2 criterions, is a title and an indoor housing item, there was no reason to go back into the content after you clear it a single time. And Blue Mage has the exact same problem. With regards to the weapons, my biggest concern upon first hearing about the exquisite gear is that we might get heal or raid gear in the future that's like spell speed and piety, and the crit weapon will be locked behind Criterion. So if you want to be this for Ultimate, well, you gotta go do Criterion. Though thankfully, these weapons have the same substats as the raid weapons, so that's at least good to hear in a you don't have to do this for business standpoint. But Black Mages who want more spell speed get shafted by the intentional limiting of options. And then I was looking through the rewards, and Mount Rockon had 2 different outfits to unlock, and the Alolan Island only has 1 again. It's like they took out some of the rewards from Criterion to add to Savage, and this feels like a step in the wrong direction. And for this, I'm only speaking about the glamour and not the other things like the emotes and the fashion accessories. It's cool to have something that you have to grind for. Lord knows this game's in desperate need for repeatable content, even after you get all 12 endings. Which, for sure, could take more than 12 runs if you're trying to solve the puzzles yourself, not looking up a guide due to needing to try out a bunch of random things, even after you get the clues. Which I might add, I highly encourage people to do that, either solo or with your friends. I find it to be a lot more engaging and a huge dopamine hit when you actually do crack the code yourself instead of just following a step-by-step guide. Post-scripting kawaii coming in here. I was looking at my achievements and saw that there's an achievement with a title for doing all 3 Savages, and who wouldn't want to be an epic hero? Not even Ultimate has a title for doing all of the ones of an expansion. Shadowbreaker's excluded for obvious reasons. I just thought that was kinda cool and wanted to say that I thought it was. And this is my thoughts, concerns, and suggestions for what I think Criterion could be in 7.0 and beyond. But let me know what you guys think.